We are most privileged this morning to have a special guest speaker from Grand Rapids, Alan Tutt, who will be sharing his harmonic prayer process with us. Alan is the author of 9 books on prayer and manifestation, including Choose to Believe, Harmonic Prayer, and Prosperity from the Inside Out. He also maintains a blog at alantutt.com, where you will find over 300 articles on manifesting, personal development, and business. So please give a unity welcome to Alan Tutt.
Okay, I think the mic is on. Yes, it is. Okay. And hi, everyone. Thank you for coming in. I really enjoy being able to share what I've learned over the last 35 years as often as I can, and that's one of the reasons why I've written a number of books, 2 of which are on the table in the back that you can look at after the service today. So, prayer. I guess one of the things that I would like to start with is the fact that even after 35 years of studying prayer and manifestation and related topics, I still don't know everything. And I guess one of the questions you might be asking is, what is so difficult about prayer? You just ask for what you want and God either answers or He doesn't. But the thing that I found is that God is like, well, let me back up just a moment here. The Bible says God is the same, always and forever. God never changes. And this could be interpreted many different ways. And one of the ways that a lot of people, like myself, interpret this is that God is like a natural law of the universe, like the law of gravity or the law of magnetism. A lot of people talk about the law of attraction and how when we focus our minds correctly, we can manifest things through this natural law of the universe. And prayer is essentially one of the ways that we can activate this law of attraction and this law of manifestation. Back when I was young child, grade school, grade school, high school, I was a good student. I was basically a straight A student, which meant that I accepted whatever my teachers told me as absolute truth. They told me that something was a particular way, and I said, okay, that's the way it is. I trusted that what they told me was the truth. And so in Sunday school, I was told that whatever we ask for in prayer, God will answer that prayer. Not always the way we want it to, but it will always be an answer. And I trusted that. But at the same time, I knew a lot of people who prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed and never got the results they were looking for. But I also had heard enough stories about people who had prayed and received absolute miracles. And that confused me, because one of the reasons why I was good in school, I was a very conscious mind, logical, left-brain thinker. I could follow a line of thought from beginning to end, cause to effect, and figure out how things were working. But this was a conundrum for me. How could this possibly be that some people pray and get miracles as a result, and other people pray and pray and pray and not get any kind of a result? How could that be? There must be something they're doing differently, or there must be some difference in either the person who is praying or the way they are praying that could account for that difference. And so I got curious, and I started learning about it. And of course, I started with the Bible, and the words of Christ gave a lot of good information. Christ says that whatever you ask for in prayer, as long as you believe that you have received it, you will receive it. And there's a tense change in there that we have to really pay attention to. If we believe that we have received it, we will receive it. That's a point I'm going to get back to again later here this morning. But the other major quote that I keep reminding myself of is, according to your faith is it done unto you, which led me to one of the books that's on the table as far as the Choose to Believe book. The thing that I've learned has been the most important thing about prayer is that it is all about faith. It's all about belief. As long as you believe that you will get a result to your prayer, you will. And because there are many different forms of prayer, any kind of form of prayer could work as long as you believe in it. If you believe that kneeling down by the side of your bed at night and talking to God is going to produce a good result for you, it will. If you believe that you have to sit in meditation for an hour at a time, focusing only on your desired result and nothing else whatsoever, if you believe that that is your process of prayer that's going to work, that's the process that will work for you. And that leads me into the reason why it has taken me 35 years to, well, maybe not quite the full 35 years, but why I've been studying this for 35 years and I still haven't got it completely right yet. Because that nature of belief, if we believe that we need to do certain things before our prayers are answered, then our beliefs require those certain things to be done before the prayer is answered. For a very long time, I believed that I needed to use a force of will. I needed a certain amount of willpower to send out this thought energy out into the world to create some kind of a change that would come back to me. And because of that belief, anytime I tried to take an easy way or relax into it, it never worked for me. But that was my fault, not anything else outside of me. It was my belief that caused me to have that experience. Let me go back a little bit here. After high school, I had received a full tuition scholarship to DeVry University to study electrical engineering. I was really fascinated with computers. I really wanted to get into the computer field. I wanted to learn how to design computers. And so I got into this program. And because of a number of pieces of advice that I had received, I was trying to go to school full-time, I was trying to work full-time, and I couldn't keep up. And I eventually failed out of school. I'd been a straight A student up until that time, but I failed out simply because I was trying to do too much. That led me into a situation where I was pretty much homeless. And after a series of events, I basically did become homeless to the point where I had no home, no place to stay, no car, no job, no money, no friends, nobody I can call on to ask for help. And I was definitely in a desperate situation. And that's when I really started digging in, learning about the power of prayer even more than I had before that point. And I tried many different things. The Bible told me that I needed to have faith, but it didn't tell me how to have faith. How can I believe that I'm going to get a result when everything in my life has been failing? That was the big question for me. How can I change my faith so that I can get a positive result? And so, not getting the answer that I was looking for out of the Bible, I started looking through other books. And I went from book to book to book to book, trying everything that they told me to do because, again, conscious mind, logical, left-brain thinker, the truth is in a book somewhere. So I kept going. Kept failing, kept not getting the results that I was looking for, until one winter morning when I stumbled into a bookstore after having walked the streets all night long. I was definitely not in my normal conscious mind. I was exhausted. I was hoping for some glimmer of truth. And as I stood there in the bookstore, I was browsing through the shelves, and one book title jumped out at me. It was called The Miracle of Mind Dynamics. It's written by a guy named Joseph Murphy. And he talks about a lot of principles that Unity talks about, that the power of prayer is in the power of belief. Whatever we believe to be true will become true for us. And one of the things that book promised on the cover, and what really drew my attention, is it promised a 4-step, 60-second action plan to produce miracles. And at that time, that's exactly what I was hoping for. So in that bookstore, as I was reading through the book, following the 4 steps, as he said, the first step is acknowledge that God is the only power and the only presence in the universe. Is that phrase familiar to anybody? One of the basic Unity principles. His second step is to realize that if God is the only power in the universe, there is no power that can contradict or be an obstacle to the power of God. And that whatever God decides to do, it is done. And so the third step was to basically accept that your prayer is being answered right here, right now. And to imagine it as if it is happening right here, right now. Not only to imagine it, but to feel it as if it really is a current reality. Believe that you have received it, and you will receive it, going back to the Bible. And then his fourth step was to simply give thanks for the miracle and be open to it. And so as I was following those steps, I was imagining having enough money to rent a place to stay and get food to eat. And I felt this incredible sensation of joy rising up within me as I also felt a weight drop off my shoulders. It was an incredible feeling that I had not felt any time before that point. Before the end of the day, I did get the money that I needed to rent a room for a week, get the food that I needed, and come back to that bookstore the next day to buy that book and a couple others. So I had experienced my first miracle. The corollary follow-up to that story is that for the next week, I tried to duplicate that experience, but I could not. Simply because I had enough rest and my conscious mind had kicked in and was asking, how is this working? And every time I tried to duplicate that experience, I was focused on what I was doing, I was trying to remember what I had done before, and I was trying to compare the two with each other. My mind was split. I was of a divided mind, and that diffused my energies. I was not focused, and I was not trusting the process the way I had done the first time. There were a few other differences, but here again, I knew there was something there. And so I started really digging in a lot deeper to learn, what is this magic that I tapped into? Where are the principles that made this happen? And I studied over and over and over and over again all of Joseph Murphy books. I tried all the different things. I went into affirmations, and I did the normal thing. I wrote out the affirmation. I worded it absolutely perfectly, absolute positive, present tense, absolutely no loopholes so anything could go wrong. Close up all those loopholes. And then I would repeat them over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, thinking that by repetition it would somehow seep down into my deeper mind and take hold. Well, that wasn't quite good enough, and I did eventually figure out that there are a few other principles, and that's what I'm here to share with you here today. I found, through my extensive research, trying every possible idea you can think of, every combination of ideas, every sequence of combinations, that there really are only 3 principles that make prayer work. And faith is the most important one. But when you need to change your faith, when you need to change what you believe, the other 2 factors work to change your beliefs for you. And the first one is focus, which was one of the principles I was always gravitating back to, but it's a little bit different than what I had originally thought. We do need a little bit of willpower to focus our minds on the thing that we want and to imagine it as if it's happening right here, right now. But that's all the willpower we need. We don't want to try to force it. We just want to focus. There's a difference, and that was a difference that was difficult for me to understand. But it's a difference that I definitely want to make sure to communicate as clearly as I can. The only willpower involved is in focusing our mind. It's like we're driving the car, and God is the engine getting us down the road. We don't have to get ourselves down the road. All we have to do is set the wheel for the direction we want to go. Focus is one of the key issues, or one of the key principles. The other one is something that I call a feeling. And for many, many years, I had a difficult time understanding what that feeling was, but I could recognize when I was in it. For a long while, all I could describe was that this is a feeling of being connected with the universe. And that was the only way I could describe it. I could say that one of the things that helps us get to that feeling is the emotion of love. And this is something that we're taught over and over and over again, that love is a powerful force that can make things happen in our lives, and it is. So is gratitude, which is another thing that we hear a lot of as well. But love and gratitude are not the only feelings that will help us get to that point. Any positive emotion will help us enter into a harmonic resonance with the divine. But there is another layer to this feeling aspect as well, and that is a feeling of deep relaxation. How many people have heard that God is within? If we want to talk to God, we have to go within. Well, that's another phrase that confused me for a lot of years. How do I go within? And how far do I need to relax in order to make that connection? I'll spare you the details, but on a scientific, practical, physical level, we have to get out of the beta level of mind. Anybody who knows about brain waves will understand this. You don't have to worry. It's basically going into meditation, and if you can go even deeper, that's even better. Technically, it's going into either alpha or theta levels of mind. The deeper we can go within ourselves, the closer we are to that God mind that can manifest things for us. So, knowing these three principles, I came up with a 5-step process that I use, which has worked very well over the last couple of years for getting into a good prayer state and guiding our thoughts so that we can manifest the things that we want. And real quickly, just to kind of give you the overview, I'm going to walk you through these steps here in just a bit. The first step is to relax. And again, it's not just a basic, okay, let's get rid of the tension in our body, but actually get out of the beta state into alpha and theta. Relax as deeply as you can within yourself, to the point where you can pretty much ignore the world around you and focus only on the world within. That's step one. Step two is something I call indulgence. To indulge in positive emotions. To indulge in those feelings of love, gratitude, happiness, joy, and even things like sensual pleasure, like what you feel when you're eating a delicious dessert, or sitting by a fire, or sitting in a pool of water. Whatever makes you feel good is okay to focus on at this step in the process, because whenever you feel good, you are starting to open up spiritually to the divine essence of the universe. And that helps you to make that strong connection so that your prayers can be answered. Relax, indulge in positive feelings. Those two steps help us connect to the divine. Third step is to imagine what you want to manifest in as much detail as you can, as if it's happening right here, right now, and you are in the middle of it. See what you would see in that situation. Hear what you would hear at that time. Feel the emotions that you would feel in that situation, and as well as the feelings as well as the emotions, you also want to feel tactile whatever you would be feeling in that situation. For instance, if you're trying to manifest a new car, you want to feel the steering wheel in your hands. You want to feel the vibration of the tires against the road. You want to feel the feeling of the wind buffeting the car a little bit as you're driving down. Get all of those different feelings into that experience. Make it as real as you possibly can. The more real you can make it within your mind, the quicker it will become real in the physical world. That's step 3. Step 4 is the most important one. And in fact, the first 3 steps are really there only to get you to the 4th step, and that is to trust, to have faith, to believe. Trust that the process has already worked. You've already done whatever you need to do. All that's left is to wait for the manifestation to happen. And then while you're waiting, there's the 5th step, and that is to act on any divine guidance you receive. Follow your impulses. Follow your intuition. If you notice yourself feeling like doing something a little different than you normally do, pay attention to that and act on it. One of the stories that I tell over and over again is how Linda and I got together a little over 20 years ago. I was praying for a solid relationship. I was tired of all the little 1 month, 2 months, at most 1 year relationships I had had up to that point, and I was ready to find the partner of my life. And so I was praying for that. And I had trusted it to the point where everywhere I went, I was looking. It's like, okay, am I going to meet her today? Is she in this building? Is she around that corner? Where am I going to meet her? Because I know I will. That's the level of trust you need. And what ended up happening was one Wednesday afternoon, I was meditating, and I got this feeling that, you know what, it's been a long time since I've gone to a church that had a meditation service. I want to do that again. So I pulled out the yellow pages. I looked up what the different churches, seeing if any advertised a meditation service. Found Unity and Ada advertised meditations on Wednesday nights. Well, it happened to be a Wednesday. Figured that was a good sign. So I called them up. Weren't doing the meditation services anymore, but they had a Wednesday night class. I was welcome to come in. So I did. And I started going there. It was a couple weeks later when I was going to another service. At the end of the service, I was getting my coat to walk away. Someone tapped on my shoulder, turned around, saw her, and immediately I had that feeling, you're the one I'm looking for. Of course, I didn't tell her that at that point. And it did take a little while before she realized that we were right for each other, but we did eventually get together, and we've been together for 20 years. So that is the way that I'm referring to as far as acting on divine guidance. If you feel like doing something, and it's something you haven't done for a while, pay attention to that, because usually, in most cases, we need to be physically involved in our manifestation. We need to be someplace other than where we're normally at. We need to be talking to someone we're not normally talking to. We may even be presenting ourselves a little bit differently, speaking up instead of holding back. Or maybe holding back instead of speaking up. Depends on the situation. But those are the 5 steps that implement the 3 principles that I just talked about. And so this is probably a good time to actually walk through an example. So I'm not sure if you guys want to dim lights or not. It doesn't matter to me. I haven't noticed any real difference in how well it comes together. But okay, let's just go ahead and relax. If you need to stretch, do that. Get physically comfortable, however that is for you. If you like feet flat on the floor, that is okay. You don't have to. If you like to have your hands on your thighs, that's okay. You don't have to. Whatever is comfortable for you. And so I usually start with a nice, slow, deep breath. Fill my lungs with fresh air, and then slowly release and relax, both physically and mentally. And let everything go. And then let's do that again. Take a nice, slow, deep breath. And release any remaining tension that may be within your body or mind. Focus within yourself. Find a space within yourself that is comfortable. And within that space, remember a time where you were supremely happy, when you were absolutely joyful, when you just simply felt so good. And remember that experience and feel that emotion. And pay close attention to what that emotion feels like. And if you can, imagine that feeling getting stronger and stronger, feeling better and better. What would it feel like if it were 10 times stronger? How about 100 times more powerful? Could you even handle it if it were 1,000 times more intense? Allow yourself to get lost in this good feeling. And know that as you have relaxed and elicited a positive emotion, you are now much closer to the divine essence of the universe than you were just a minute ago. And whatever you imagine within your mind will be manifested for you. And so at this point, think of something you would like to manifest into your life now. It can be anything. There are absolutely no limits. If you would like to have more money in your life, imagine that you have that money you're asking for. What would you do with it? How would your life change? See it from that perspective. Hear people congratulating you on your good fortune, on your wise business sense. Feel the emotions you would feel in that situation. You might feel a sense of profound relaxation, knowing that it is finally done. You might feel a sense of joy and enthusiasm, having received something truly magnificent. Perhaps you would feel a sense of accomplishment, knowing that you made it happen. If you are wanting to manifest greater health and vitality, then imagine yourself doing something that you could not do before. And pay attention to how your body feels as you move through the experience. If you would like to manifest more harmonious relationships, imagine that you are with somebody who used to be a problem, but now everything is going absolutely perfectly. I'm going to give you a few moments to imagine this in as much detail as you can. A wonderful experience. And so that is more than enough time to clearly communicate your desire to the divine mind, which is the only thing we need to do in prayer. And from this point, you may remember your body that was left here at the Unity in Muskegon and come back. And when you're ready, you may open your eyes. Okay, I think most of you are back. No? Okay. And I saw a few of you going really, really deep, which is good, because then I know that you are really solidly connected to that divine essence, that divine mind of God. And as I mentioned just a moment ago, the only task that we have in prayer is to simply communicate what we want to the divine mind. And one of the things that I have learned over time, after having written out all those affirmations in absolutely perfect terms, the thing that I've learned is that the words are good for me, and if I'm communicating to others, the words are good for us on a human level. The words are not what gets communicated to the divine mind. What gets communicated is what we're imagining within our minds, which is why some people can pray for peace and yet not get a result of that peacefulness because they're praying for peace and that's what their words are saying, but they're imagining the conflict that they're trying to avoid. And so that's why it's so important to imagine what you are asking for as if it is currently happening right here, right now. So we went through the first 3 steps. From here, it's really just a matter of trusting that what you have done will produce the results you're looking for, and to start looking for it. And again, follow any divine guidance that you feel you are being given. And if you don't feel divine guidance, then just go with your intuition, go with your gut, because God will direct you one way or another. You just have to be open to it. So that's pretty much all that I have for you right now. I do want to mention that I have a free gift for everyone back at the table. I've made up a sheet that has the 3 principles that I talked about on one side, and on the other side it has the 5-step process that I just walked you through. So you may take that as a reminder, my free gift to you. And also on the table I've got 2 of my books. One is the original Choose to Believe book that talks about the power of belief, the power of faith, and how we can change what we believe. Many different ideas and suggestions on there. There's also the second book on there is my original Harmonic Prayer book, which starts to get into the direction of what we talked about here today. At the time I wrote that book, I was still a little confused on what the feeling aspect was. So it talks about feeling a emotion of love to get into that feeling state, but now that you've been here today, you know there's a little bit more to that. Relaxing as deeply as you possibly can is a good thing with that. There's also a CD, audio CD, with 4 different meditations. Each meditation is about 20 minutes long, and one meditation is on divine love, activating that divine love within your life. Second meditation is on divine power, bringing in the power of God so that you can manifest whatever you want and whatever you need. There's a meditation on divine wisdom, helping you make the right choices whenever you need to. And the 4th meditation is on divine faith, so that you can truly trust that your prayers will be answered. The 2 books, the CD, I'm offering for $10 each, or if you want to get more than one, 2 for $15, 3 for $20. And if you have any other questions, either Linda in the back or myself will be able to answer those for you. So that's pretty much all I have. Thank you. I pray for divine blessings for each and every one of you. Thank you.